Ladies, have you ever been confused when a man you love starts ignoring you? Is he losing interest or is he falling harder? Today I'm going to reveal a truth most women overlook. Sometimes real love hides behind silence. Love is a game of emotions and not all men play it the same way. Some chase you endlessly while others pull back when they start feeling something deep. And that's when you get confused. Why is he acting distant? Did I do something wrong? No. Sometimes ignoring you is his way of loving you. Today, I'll break it down for you. The psychology behind his silence. When a man starts to feel something deep, something real, something beyond just attraction, fear creeps in. Not because he doesn't love you, but because he does. Love is powerful. It changes a man, shakes his core, makes him question everything he thought he knew about himself. Most men are taught to be strong, to be in control, to never let emotions make them weak. But when love enters the picture, it challenges all of that. It makes him feel things he never expected, and that scares him. Imagine this. You're texting every day, sharing laughs, feeling that beautiful connection. Then suddenly he starts pulling away. No morning texts, no late night calls. He's there, but he's not really there. You think, did I do something wrong? You start replaying every conversation, every moment, searching for a mistake. But here's the truth, it's not you, it's him. Men fear the unknown, and love is the greatest unknown of all. It's unpredictable, uncontrollable, and most of all, it's consuming. The moment he realizes you have the power to affect his emotions, to make him feel high and low, to make him miss you when you're gone, to make him crave your presence, he panics. He's afraid of losing himself in you. He's afraid of needing you too much. So what does he do? He withdraws, he ignores, not because he wants to hurt you, but because he's scared of how much he's already falling. Think about a man who's never truly been in love before. Maybe he's had flings, maybe he's had relationships, but nothing ever shook him the way you do. He's been independent, in control, focused on himself. And suddenly you walk in, you light up his world, you make him feel alive, you bring out a version of him that he never even knew existed. And that terrifies him. Because the moment he realizes that his happiness now depends on you, he starts to question everything. What if I lose her? What if I love her more than she loves me? What if I become weak? It's like a man standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down at the ocean below. The water is beautiful, deep, endless. He wants to dive in, but the fear of the fall, that holds him back. He wonders if he should take the leap or step away while he still has control. Ever seen a strong man break down in silence? A man who seems fearless in the world but runs from his own emotions? That's because men are raised to fight battles outside, but never taught how to fight the battles inside. And love is the biggest battlefield. Picture a guy who's always been logical, strategic, calculated. He knows how to handle money, how to build a career, how to win in life. But love, that's not something he can control. Love doesn't come with a rule book. It doesn't follow his plans. He can't schedule it, he can't strategize it, and most of all, he can't run from it. And that makes him uncomfortable. Have you ever noticed how a man will chase you like crazy when you're distant, but the moment you start showing him deep love, he changes. He gets quieter, he starts pulling back. That's because the chase was easy, he was in control, but now that he has you, his heart is on the line, and that's a dangerous place for a man who's afraid of emotions. A man who has never felt deep love before will treat it like a threat. He will avoid it, resist it, pretend it doesn't exist, until one day he realizes he can't fight it anymore. That's when he faces two choices: surrender to love or run from it. And this is where most women misunderstand men. When a man ignores you, you assume he doesn't care. But sometimes he cares too much, and that's why he's running. Think of a man who has been independent all his life. He has built himself from nothing, focused on his goals, never let emotions get in the way. Now suddenly he finds himself checking his phone every few minutes, waiting for your text. He finds himself thinking about you when he should be working. He feels a pull he can't explain, a longing he never expected, and that scares him, because for the first time his heart is stronger than his mind. Love changes everything. It humbles the proud, it softens the tough, it makes a king bow before a queen without even realizing it. But before a man can surrender to love, he will fight it, he will test it, he will challenge it, not to hurt you, but to make sure it's real. Have you ever noticed how some men take longer to open up? How they hesitate to say, I love you, even when their actions scream it? That's because once they admit it, they know there is no turning back. A man's love is like a dam holding back water. The moment it cracks, the flood is unstoppable. And that's why before he lets himself go, before he lets you in completely, he might ignore you, distance himself, or act like he doesn't care. Not because he doesn't love you, but because he loves you more than he knows how to handle. Imagine a boxer in a ring. He's fought battles, he's taken hits, but nothing knocks him down like love. Love is not a punch. It's a force that takes over from the inside. It's the one thing he can't fight, the one thing he can't train for. And that's why it shakes him to his core. You see, men are always afraid of commitment. They are afraid of committing to the wrong person. They are afraid of giving their heart to someone who won't value it. And most of all, they are afraid of being vulnerable. Vulnerability means giving someone the power to break you. And love is the greatest vulnerability of all. So what does a man do when he realizes he's falling? He steps back. He tests the waters. He ignores you, not to hurt you, but to see if you'll stay. He wants to know if you're patient, if you understand, if you truly know his heart beyond the surface. Because a real man doesn't just love with words, he loves with his entire soul. And before he lets you in, he needs to be sure you won't leave him broken. When a man truly loves you, he won't just dive in blindly. He will test the waters. Not because he wants to play games, but because he wants to know if what he feels is real. If you are real, if the connection between you is strong enough to withstand the storms of life. Imagine a man who has spent years building his life, his dreams, his identity. He's seen people come and go. He's learned that not everyone who smiles at him is a friend. Not everyone who claims love is sin. He knows that words mean nothing if they're not backed by actions. So when he meets a woman who moves his soul, he doesn't just surrender. He observes, he tests, he watches, not to manipulate but to understand. Have you ever noticed how a man will open up to you one moment and then pull back the next? How he'll be all in today and distant tomorrow? That's because he's studying you. He's trying to see if your love is conditional or if it can withstand the moments when he's not perfect. Because any man who has truly lived knows that life isn't always sunshine and roses. One day, he'll be strong. One day, he'll be vulnerable. One day, he'll be confident. One day, he'll doubt himself. And he needs to know, will you still be there when the storm comes? Think about a man who has been hurt before. Maybe he gave his heart to someone who didn't value it. Maybe he trusted someone who betrayed him. Maybe he once believed in love so much that when it failed, it shattered him. Now he stands before you, drawn to you, feeling something deep, but he's afraid to fall too fast. So what does he do? He tests the depth of your connection. He needs to know that you won't leave at the first sign of difficulty. It's like a tree testing its roots before the storm. Before a hurricane hits, the strongest trees don't just rely on their height, they rely on their foundation. Love is the same. If it's real, if it's deep, it doesn't shake when the winds blow, it stands firm. And a man needs to see if your love is strong enough to weather the unpredictable moments. Imagine you're in a conversation and suddenly he becomes quiet. He's not engaging the way he usually does. You feel the shift and your mind starts racing. Did I say something wrong? Is he losing interest? But what if, instead of overanalyzing, you saw it for what it really is? He's watching how you react. Will you panic? Will you beg for his attention? Or will you stand in your confidence? knowing that real love doesn't need to be forced. Some men need to see if you love them for who they are or for what they give you. A man who is truly seeking a deep connection will watch how you respond when he's not always available, when he's not always showering you with attention. Because any man can show love when it's easy. But the one who is looking for something real, he wants to know if you're still there when the excitement fades, when the honeymoon phase ends, when real life begins. Think about a businessman who has wealth and success. He meets many women who adore him, who flatter him, who enjoy his lifestyle. But deep down he wonders, would they still be there if all of this disappeared? If he had nothing to offer but himself? So what does he do? He observes, he steps back, he watches, not because he wants to push love away, but because he wants to be sure that what he's stepping into is real. A strong man doesn't want a woman who only loves him when he's at his best. He needs to know, will you still stand by him when he's struggling, when he's doubting himself? That's why sometimes without even realizing it, he will test your patience. He will see if you react with anger when he needs space. He will watch if you trust him even when he's quiet. He will pull back slightly just to see, do you love him or do you only love the way he makes you feel? Think about a marathon runner. Before he starts the race, he doesn't just sprint full speed. He paces himself. He tests his endurance. He checks his breath, his steps, his energy, because he knows that a marathon isn't about how fast you start. It's about whether you can finish strong. Love is the same. A man who is serious about you isn't just thinking about today. He's thinking about forever, and before he lets his heart fully commit, he wants to know that you're not just here for the excitement, but for the journey. Have you ever been on a road trip with someone? At first, it's thrilling, the music, the adventure, the open road, but after hours of driving, when the excitement settles, when fatigue sets in, that's when you see a person's true nature. Do they still enjoy your company in the quiet moments? Do they still hold conversations when there's no distraction? Do they still stay present even when there's no rush of excitement? Love is no different. The first few months might feel like a perfect road trip, but eventually a man needs to know, will you still want to be with him when the journey slows down? Sometimes when he ignores you, when he pulls back, when he becomes quiet, it's not because he's lost interest. It's because he's seeing if the connection between you is deeper than just attraction. He's making sure that when he falls for you, he's falling for the right person. Because a man who truly loves you isn't just looking for temporary happiness. He's looking for something real. And before he gives his heart away, he needs to know that the love you share is built to last. A man's masculinity is not just about strength or power. It's about how he sees himself in the world, how he holds his place, how he feels in control of his emotions and actions. When he loves you, he may seem distant at times, not because he doesn't care, but because he's trying to balance his feelings without losing himself. Society tells men that emotions make them weak. From the time they are boys, they hear it. Don't cry, be tough, handle it like a man. So when he falls for you, when emotions become intense, he may instinctively pull back, not because he wants to, but because he's been conditioned to believe that vulnerability equals losing control. Imagine a boxer in the ring. He's trained to stay guarded, to anticipate every move, to never drop his defenses. And then, suddenly he's faced with something he wasn't prepared for, love, a force stronger than any punch, more unpredictable than any opponent. His instinct, step back, regain control, because if he lets himself get hit too hard, if he drops his guard too soon, he fears he won't be able to stand up again. A man values his masculinity because it defines his strength, his leadership, his sense of purpose. He doesn't want to lose that, even to love. So sometimes he will withdraw, not to push you away, but to remind himself that he is still in control. He will test his own emotions, see if he can stand on his own, because the last thing he wants is to become dependent. Love is powerful, and deep down he knows it has the ability to change him in ways he never expected. That can be terrifying. Think about a king ruling his kingdom. He may love his queen, but he still has a throne to uphold, decisions to make, battles to fight. He cannot allow himself to get lost in emotions when there are responsibilities to handle. Love is not his weakness, but he fears what will happen if he lets it take over completely. He's not ignoring you because he doesn't love you. He's just making sure he still owns his own heart before he hands it over. There's a man who spent years building his career, his identity, his sense of self. He meets a woman who shakes his world, and suddenly, for the first time, he feels out of control. He finds himself checking his phone every 5 minutes, replaying conversations in his head, feeling emotions he never had to manage before. He pulls back, not because he doesn't want her, but because he needs to remind himself that he is still the same man he was before he met her. It's like a wild horse running free in an open field. It's powerful, unstoppable, untamed. And then one day it sees a fence, a reason to stop, to settle, to stay, but it hesitates. Not because the fence is bad, but because the horse has never known what it feels like to belong to something. That's how love feels to a man who is deeply connected to his masculinity. He doesn't want to be caged, but he also doesn't want to run away. He just needs time to adjust to the idea of staying. Masculinity is built on purpose. A man wants to feel like he is providing, protecting, leading, but love makes him question, am I enough? If he falls too hard, will he lose the drive that makes him a man? That's why some men retreat into their work, their passions, their personal space. Not because they are losing interest, but because they are maintaining the balance between their love and their purpose. A soldier doesn't stop training because he falls in love. A leader doesn't stop leading. A man doesn't stop being a man just because his heart is open. But in the beginning, he may struggle to find the middle ground. He may need space to understand how to love without losing himself. And in those moments when he steps back, when he seems distant, when he is fighting an internal battle between his emotions and his identity, that's when you'll see if your love is strong enough to give him the time he needs. Think of a musician who has spent years mastering his craft. Every note, every rhythm, every performance, his identity is tied to his music. And then he falls in love. Suddenly, there's a new song playing in his mind, a new rhythm taking over his soul. He doesn't want to lose himself in the melody of love, so he steps back to remind himself that his music, his passion is still his own. That doesn't mean he doesn't love her, it means he's finding a way to balance both worlds. When a man ignores you, when he becomes distant, don't immediately assume he's pulling away. Sometimes he's just making sure that the man he was before you is still standing strong, even as he learns to love you. Because a real man doesn't just fall, he makes sure he can catch himself first. A man who truly loves you is not just interested in your presence, he is curious about your absence. He wants to know if he has left a mark on your soul, if his silence echoes in your heart the way yours does in his. Sometimes, when he pulls away, it is not because he is losing interest. It is because he wants to see if you will reach for him, if you will notice the space he once occupied. Imagine an artist who has spent years painting a masterpiece. Every brush stroke is filled with emotion. Every color carefully chosen. And then one day he steps back and puts down the brush, not because he is done, but because he wants to see if the painting still holds its magic, if it still speaks without him adding more. That is how a man feels when he distances himself. He wants to know if what he has created with you is strong enough to stand on its own. A man doesn't just want to be loved, he wants to feel needed. He wants to believe that when he is not around, you still think of him, that your heart still beats his name in the quiet moments. He doesn't want to be a passing cloud in your sky, he wants to be the moon you search for in the dark. So when he creates distance, he's watching closely. Will you notice? Will you reach out? Will you miss him the way he misses you? Think about a child playing hide and seek. He hides behind a tree, holding his breath, waiting. Not because he wants to be forgotten, but because he wants to be found. He wants to hear someone calling his name, searching for him, proving that he matters. Love is the same. A man doesn't step back because he wants to disappear. He steps back to see if you will come looking for him. There is a reason why absence makes the heart grow fonder. When something is always there, it is easy to take it for granted. The sun rises every day, and yet we only stop to admire the sunset when it begins to leave the sky. A man who loves you wants to be more than a routine in your life. He wants to be your desire, your longing, your missing piece. He wants to feel that even when he is not there, his presence lingers in your thoughts. Have you ever noticed how people only realize the value of water when they are thirsty? The man who loves you wants to know that he quenches something deep inside you. He wants to feel irreplaceable. He wants to know that when he is gone, no one else can fill the space he leaves behind. He wants to be the kind of man who cannot simply be replaced with another text, another conversation, another presence. He wants to be the presence. Imagine two lovers who talk every single day. They wake up to each other's messages. They share every detail of their lives. But then suddenly one of them stops. No good morning text. No call. Silence. And in that silence, the mind races. Does he still think about me? Does he miss me? Is he waiting for me to reach out? And in that moment, you realize his absence speaks louder than any words he could have said. A man who loves you doesn't just want to be loved, he wants to be felt. He wants to leave a mark so deep that even when he is not next to you, you can still hear his laughter in your head, still feel his arms around you, still reach for him in a room where he isn't present. That's why he sometimes pulls away, not to hurt you, but to see if the love is strong enough to pull him back. Think about a song that you once loved. You played it over and over until one day you stopped. And then, weeks later, you hear it again unexpectedly in a cafe, in a passing car. And suddenly a wave of emotions washes over you. That's what a man hopes for when he distances himself. He wants to be that song that lingers in your soul, the melody you can't forget, the tune that plays even in silence. Love is not just about presence, it is about impact. A man who loves you wants to be the thought that keeps you awake at night, the name you whisper into your pillow, the face you search for in a crowd. And so he steps back, not to disappear, but to see if you will follow. Because the truth is, love is not just about being together, it's about missing each other when you're apart. And sometimes the greatest proof of love is not in the moments you share, but in the longing that fills the space between them. He's protecting his heart because he knows the cost of giving it away too easily. A man who has experienced life, who has been through struggles, heartbreaks and disappointments, understands one truth: his heart is his most valuable possession. And in a world where emotions are often seen as weaknesses, he guards it with everything he has. Imagine a warrior who has been through countless battles. His armor is dented, his sword is worn, but he still stands tall. He has seen betrayal, he has fought wars he never wanted to fight, and now he doesn't just hand over his weapon to anyone. A man's heart is his weapon. It carries his love, his loyalty, his deepest emotions. And once he gives it away, he is vulnerable. Vulnerability can be beautiful, but for a man who has been hurt before, it's also terrifying. He needs to be sure before he takes off his armor, before he lays down his soul, before he opens himself up completely. There is a reason why a king doesn't let just anyone into his palace. A kingdom is only as strong as the people within it. A king doesn't open his gates to everyone who knocks. He observes, he tests, he watches. Because once someone enters his palace, they have access to everything he has built. That's how a man feels about his heart. He can't afford to let just anyone in. He has worked too hard to build himself, to create a life of purpose, to stay strong in a world that constantly tests him. If he gives his heart away to the wrong person, it could destroy him from the inside. And so he waits, he watches, he protects himself. Not because he doesn't want love, but because he needs to know it's real before he surrenders to it. Think of a man who has built his own business from nothing. He started with an idea, turned it into a reality, sacrificed sleep, time and energy to make it grow. His business is not just a company, it's a part of him. Now, imagine someone walking in and asking for half of everything he owns, without proving their worth, without showing their commitment. Would he just give it away? Of course not. He would ask questions, he would test their loyalty, he would make sure they truly understand the value of what they're asking for. Love is the same. His heart is not something he can just give away freely. He needs to be sure that the person who holds it will protect it as fiercely as he does. A man doesn't fear love, he fears being broken. He fears giving his all to someone who doesn't appreciate it. He fears investing his emotions in a place where they won't be valued. He fears letting someone into the deepest parts of his soul only to have them walk away. And that fear is not weakness, it's wisdom. Because he knows what it's like to rebuild himself from nothing. He has done it before. He has stood in front of the mirror, looking at the pieces of himself scattered across the floor, wondering if he would ever feel whole again. He has learned that love is not just about giving, it's about giving to the right person. Imagine a musician who writes a song straight from his soul. Every lyric, every note, every chord is a piece of him. He doesn't just let anyone sing it. He doesn't sell it to just anyone. He needs to know that whoever sings his song will understand its depth, its meaning, its power. Because once it's in their hands, it's no longer just his, it belongs to them too. A man's heart is his song. He wants to share it, but only with someone who will honor it, who will sing it with the same passion he wrote it with. A man who protects his heart is not cold, he is careful. He is not unloving, he is selective. He doesn't play games, he plays smart. He knows that love is a risk and he is not afraid to take it, but only when he knows it's worth it. Imagine a father who has spent his whole life building a home for his children. Every brick, every wall, every detail was created with love and sacrifice. Now, if a stranger knocks on the door and asks to move in, would he just open the door without a second thought? No, he would ask questions. He would ensure their intentions are pure. Because that home is not just a house, it's a legacy. That's how a man sees his heart. It is something he has built through experience, through pain, through growth. He doesn't just open the door for anyone. He needs to know that once they enter, they won't destroy what took him years to build. There's a reason why people take care of their most expensive possessions. A luxury car is kept in a garage, a diamond ring is stored in a safe, a priceless painting is protected by glass. It's not because they don't want to share its beauty, it's because they understand its value. A man's heart is no different. He doesn't protect it because he is selfish. He protects it because he knows its worth. A lighthouse stands tall, guiding ships through the darkest nights, through the wildest storms. But it does not run to every ship. It stays firm, steady, unshaken. It doesn't chase after the lost. It shines so that the right ones will find their way. A man's heart is that lighthouse. He is not meant to chase love, he is meant to stand firm in his value, in his purpose, until the one who truly sees his light comes home. A man who loves deeply will always love with everything he has. But before he does, he must protect himself. Because love is not just about feeling, it's about trusting. It's about knowing that once he opens himself up, once he gives his heart away, it will be held with the same strength he used to protect it. He's giving you room to prove your worth, because a man who values himself doesn't just commit to anyone. He has worked too hard, faced too many battles, and built himself from the ground up to give his heart away to someone who won't appreciate its weight. Love to him is not a game of instant gratification. It is a journey, a process, a slow burning fire that must be kindled with patience, loyalty, and authenticity. Imagine a high stakes interview for the job of a lifetime. The company is prestigious, the position is rare, and only a few candidates will make it through. Would the interviewer hand the job to the first applicant without testing their skills, their endurance, their dedication? No. The most valuable roles require effort, persistence, and proof that the candidate is worthy. A man's love is no different. He is not testing you to make you feel small. He is giving you the space to show that you are capable of standing by his side, not just in easy times but in storms too. A diamond is formed under pressure. It is not plucked from the earth shining and flawless. It undergoes heat, intensity, time. Only then does it reveal its true brilliance. A woman who truly deserves a man's love will not crumble under the weight of patience. She will not demand instant validation or throw a tantrum when things do not move at her pace. Instead, she will stand in her power, unshaken, knowing that she is worth the wait and that true connection does not need to be rushed. Think of a castle built on weak foundations. No matter how beautiful the walls, how grand the entrance, if the base is unsteady, it will collapse at the first sign of trouble. Love is not about rushing to the finish line. It is about building something strong, something unbreakable. A man who values himself will not rush into love, because he knows that the wrong person can shake even the strongest foundation. He gives you space, not because he doesn't care, but because he needs to see if you are a queen who builds with him, not just a visitor passing through. A wise man once said, "What is earned is valued. What is given freely is often taken for granted." He knows this too well. If he hands you his love on a silver platter, without letting time reveal who you truly are, he risks giving his heart to someone who won't cherish it. This is not about making love difficult. This is about making love meaningful. If something is too easy to obtain, it often loses its value. That's why luxury brands don't go on sale, why limited editions are more desirable, why rare treasures are sought after. Because exclusivity breeds value. And a man who knows his worth will never give himself to someone who demands instant access without proving they deserve a seat at his table. Think about an athlete training for a championship. They do not step onto the field and win without preparation. They endure grueling workouts, sweat, pain, and discipline. And when they finally earn that medal, it is not just metal, it is a symbol of their dedication, their resilience, their hard work. A woman who earns a man's trust, his devotion, his commitment, will find that his love is not ordinary, it is a championship trophy, a prize that only the strongest can hold. A man who loves deeply will always give you a chance to prove your worth, not because he doubts you, but because he needs to know that you are not just there for the good times. Anyone can love when things are easy, when the sun is shining, when life is smooth, but what happens when the storm comes? What happens when challenges arise? Will you stay or will you run? That is what he needs to know. A soldier does not trust just anyone to guard his back in battle. He needs to know that the person beside him will not abandon the fight when the enemy approaches. Love is a battlefield, and he is not looking for someone who only wants the victory dance. He needs a warrior who will stand beside him, fight with him, and never retreat when things get tough. Imagine a sculptor working on a masterpiece. He does not rush the process. He chips away, polishes, refines, and patiently creates something magnificent. A man sees love the same way. He does not rush to place a crown on your head. He watches, he observes, he lets time sculpt the truth. Are you truly there for him, or are you only there for what he can give you? The strongest trees take years to grow. They endure storms, droughts, harsh winds, but they stand tall because their roots run deep. A woman who wants a love that lasts must be willing to grow, to show her loyalty, to prove that she is not just a passing season but a permanent force in his life. There is no value in things that come easy. That is why the most successful men do not waste time on women who demand love without showing depth, without proving substance, without earning trust. He is not ignoring you, he is not playing games, he is giving you room to show that you are the kind of woman who deserves something real. Because when a man truly loves, he loves forever. But first he needs to know that his heart will be safe in your hands. He is prioritizing his purpose because a man who knows his value understands that love is not the only thing that defines him. He was born with a mission, a vision, a fire that burns within him, and if he does not chase it, he will never truly be whole. Love is not a replacement for purpose, it is a complement to it. A man with purpose will not let love distract him from his destiny. And if he truly sees a future with you, he will not lose himself just to keep you. Imagine a man standing at the edge of greatness. He has worked tirelessly, sacrificed sleep, poured his soul into his goals. He is on the verge of creating something powerful, something bigger than himself. Then love enters his life. Does he abandon his dreams? Does he throw away everything he has built just to give you all his time? No. A man who respects himself will never let love be the reason he stops chasing his destiny. Because what good is love if it makes him smaller? What good is love if it dims his fire instead of fueling it? A lion does not sit in the shade waiting to be loved. He hunts, he leads, he dominates his territory. If a lion stopped chasing his prey to spend all his time with the lioness, the whole pride would starve. The jungle does not respect a weak lion, and a man who is truly destined for greatness knows that he cannot afford to lose his drive just because he has found someone he cares about. Love should never make a man weaker. It should push him to be even greater. Think about the most successful men in history. Did they stop building their empire because of love? No. They found love that understood their mission. They found a woman who did not beg for attention every second, but instead admired the way they pursued their dreams. A man who ignores you when he's focused on his work is not a man who doesn't care. It's a man who understands that his legacy matters. That if he does not build now, there will be nothing for his future family to stand on. A pilot cannot be texting while flying a plane. His focus must be on the destination, on keeping everyone safe, on ensuring that the journey goes as planned. If a woman in his life demands that he texts her every 5 minutes while he's flying, she does not understand what it means to have a man of purpose. A real woman supports his mission. She does not get insecure when he is focused. She gets inspired by his drive. She does not cry for his time, she earns it by showing that she respects his hustle. A seed does not become a tree overnight. It must first grow its roots deep and strong before it can rise toward the sky. A man's purpose is like that root system. He must dig deep, establish his strength and build his foundation before he can truly provide and protect. If he gets distracted before his roots are strong, he will never become the man he was meant to be. And if you love him, you will understand that his silence is not rejection. It is dedication. A boxer does not listen to the cheers of the crowd while he is in the ring. His focus is on winning. If he stops mid-fight to wave at his loved ones, he gets knocked out. A man with a vision knows this too well. He cannot afford to lose focus. Just because someone wants his attention, his purpose is his fight, his arena, his battlefield. He is not ignoring you, he is fighting for something greater. And when he wins, you will see that everything he did was not just for himself, but for both of you. The sun does not ask for permission to shine, it rises every day without fail because that is its duty. A man's purpose is his sun. It calls to him, it pulls him forward. If he ignores it, he will never shine. And if he loses himself in love at the cost of his dreams, he will one day resent the very thing that once made him happy. A strong man does not love by abandoning his purpose. He loves by staying true to his mission, knowing that the right woman will not ask him to choose between her and his destiny. A king does not sit around waiting for love to complete him. He builds his kingdom brick by brick, decision by decision, and when the time is right, he chooses a queen who understands that a kingdom does not run on feelings alone. It runs on strategy, vision, and sacrifice. If a man truly sees a future with you, he will not lose himself just to please you. He will expect you to rise to his level, to walk beside him, not pull him away from his path. A great man is not just a lover, he is a creator, a leader, a force. He is not here to exist in mediocrity, he is here to leave a mark. And a man like that does not give his time to just anyone. He gives it to the one who understands that his purpose is not something he can ignore, even for love, because in the end the right love will never take a man away from his destiny. It will fuel him to reach even greater heights. He is subconsciously creating desire because he understands one simple truth. What is always available is never truly valued. What comes too easily is often taken for granted. Human nature is built on the thrill of the chase, the excitement of uncertainty, and the longing for what feels just out of reach. A man who truly desires you knows that if he gives you all of him too soon, without space, without mystery, he risks losing your attraction. And so, without even realizing it, he creates a rhythm of closeness and distance, of presence and absence, making you crave him more. Think about your favorite song. If you played it on repeat every single hour of the day, would it still give you the same chills? Would it still hit you in the same way? No, because too much of something, even something beautiful, can dull its effect. The same applies to love. A man who gives you every ounce of his time, his words, his presence, without ever pulling away, risks becoming background noise. But when he disappears, just long enough for you to feel his absence, for you to miss the way he makes you feel, he amplifies the power of his presence. A chef does not serve an entire meal in one bite. He builds the experience. First the aroma that teases the senses, then the appetizer that awakens the hunger, and finally the main course that satisfies the craving. Desire works the same way. A man who gives you everything instantly, his emotions, his attention, his vulnerability, removes the very thing that makes you crave him. But the man who allows moments of distance, who leaves a little mystery, who makes you wonder when he will return, creates a hunger in you that no other man can replace. Picture a movie that gives away the entire plot in the first 5 minutes. Would you still feel the suspense? Would your heart race with anticipation? No, because the magic of a great story lies in the build-up, the tension, the pauses between moments of action. Love is no different. A man who understands attraction, even subconsciously, knows that a little space, a little unpredictability keeps the flame alive. If he is too predictable, if you always know what he's doing, thinking, feeling, the excitement fades. But when he pulls away, even slightly, your mind starts to fill in the gaps, to imagine, to yearn, and that is where real desire is born. A jeweler does not leave diamonds out in the open for anyone to grab. He keeps them locked away, hidden behind glass, only revealing them when the moment is right. Why? Because what is rare is valued. What is not easily accessible becomes more desirable. A man who disappears for a while, who doesn't text back instantly, who doesn't make himself available at all times, is not playing games. He is allowing you to feel the weight of his presence through his absence. Because when he finally returns, when he finally gives you his attention again, you will feel it so much more deeply than if he had never pulled away at all. A child with too many toys will always reach for the one that is just out of their grasp. Not because it is better, but because it is the one they cannot have. The human heart is wired for this kind of longing. It is not about deception or manipulation. It is about understanding that desire is born from contrast. The warmth of the sun is only appreciated after a long, cold night. A sip of water is most satisfying when you have known thirst. And love, deep, passionate love, is strongest when there is a balance between closeness and distance. A king does not beg for attention, he does not chase, he does not flood a woman's life with constant validation. He knows that his value is not in how much he gives, but in how much he desires what he chooses to give. A man who ignores you, who takes moments of silence, who does not always respond instantly, is not necessarily uninterested. He may simply be creating space for you to want him more. He is letting attraction build. He is letting you feel his absence so that his presence becomes even more powerful. The ocean is vast, unpredictable, sometimes pulling back before crashing forward again. That is what makes it mesmerizing, what makes people stare at its waves for hours, unable to look away. A man who understands desire, even unconsciously, knows that love should be like the ocean, full of rhythm, full of movement, full of moments where the tide pulls back just enough to make the next wave even more breathtaking. If he were always standing still, always the same, you would stop noticing. But because he moves, because he sometimes steps away, you find yourself waiting for his return. A great artist does not reveal his masterpiece all at once. He lets you see glimpses, strokes of color, hints of what is to come, so that by the time the full image is revealed, you are in awe. Love too is an art. If he lays everything out too soon, if he is too predictable, the magic is lost. But if he allows time, if he builds anticipation, he makes every moment you share feel more precious, more electric, more alive. Fire needs oxygen to burn. If you smother it, if you never give it space, it suffocates and dies. But when you allow air, when you let the flame breathe, it grows stronger, wilder, unstoppable. A man who pulls away is not always losing interest. Sometimes he is just giving the fire room to grow. He wants you to make a move because love is not a one-sided journey. A man may be strong, confident, and bold in many areas of his life, but when it comes to love, even the strongest man craves a sign. He needs to know that his efforts are not in vain, that the woman he desires is willing to meet him halfway. There is no power in one person carrying the entire weight of love alone. There is no excitement in always being the one who reaches out, who plans, who initiates. At some point, he will want to see if you are willing to step forward too. Think of a dance. If only one person moves while the other stands still, the dance loses its rhythm, its beauty, its passion. It is only when both partners take steps toward each other that the magic happens. A man who truly values himself will not chase endlessly without seeing a reflection of his own desire in your actions. He may hold back, not because he doesn't care, but because he wants to feel wanted too. Consider a game of chess. If one player moves their pieces while the other does nothing, the game cannot continue. The same is true for love. He may have made his move, but now he is waiting for you to respond. Not because he is playing games, but because he needs to know if you are as invested as he is. A man who has experienced rejection, who has been hurt before, will not keep moving forward blindly. He will pause, he will step back, and he will wait. Not because he has lost interest, but because he needs to see if you are willing to step into the game. Imagine a man climbing a mountain. He is willing to climb, to struggle, to prove his strength, but there comes a point where he needs a hand to reach down and pull him up. If he does all the climbing alone, if he fights for every moment while you remain distant, he will eventually stop. Not because he is weak, but because no one wants to feel like they are climbing towards someone who is unwilling to meet them halfway. A king does not beg for love. He does not chase endlessly without seeing signs that his pursuit is worth it. He may have shown you interest, he may have reached out, he may have given you attention, but now he is waiting, not out of pride, not out of arrogance, but because he wants to feel your energy too. If you never take a step, if you never reach out, if you never show him that you are willing to match his effort, he will take your silence as an answer. Think of the sun and the moon. The sun shines boldly, giving its light, its warmth, its presence, but the moon must reflect that light for it to be seen. If the moon refuses to shine, if it does not reflect the sun's energy, it fades into darkness. A man who has already shown his light will not continue to burn for a woman who does not reflect it back. He wants to see a sign, a message, a gesture that tells him, yes, I see you. Yes, I want you too. A hunter does not chase prey that does not move. If something shows no interest in escaping, in responding, in engaging, the thrill of the chase disappears. He needs to feel the energy of pursuit from both sides. He needs to feel like he is not the only one fighting for this connection. If he senses that you are passive, uninterested, or waiting endlessly without giving anything back, he will step away. Not because he does not care, but because no man wants to feel like he is pursuing something that does not want to be caught. A fire needs fuel to keep burning. If only one person keeps adding wood while the other watches, the fire will eventually die. A relationship is no different. If he has been the one making all the moves, putting in all the effort, reaching out first every time, planning every date, sending every message, there will come a moment when he stops, not because he is done with you, but because he wants to see if you will pick up the match and add fuel to the fire yourself. A warrior does not fight alone in a battle meant for two. He may have picked up his sword, stepped onto the battlefield and shown his strength, but now he waits. He wants to see if you will step beside him, if you will fight for this love just as fiercely as he does. Because a man who truly values himself knows that he deserves a partner, not a passive observer. He does not want a love where he is the only one trying. He wants to know that if he reaches out his hand, you will not leave it hanging in the air. A masterpiece is not painted with a single stroke. It takes layers, depth, and the effort of both the artist and the canvas. He may have started the painting, drawn the first lines, and added the first colors, but now he steps back to see you if you will pick up the brush. Because love, real love, is not a one-person show. It is a creation built by two souls who are willing to meet each other in the middle. If he ignores you too much, it's a red flag. Silence speaks louder than words, and when a man consistently chooses distance over connection, it's not just space, it's a message. A man who truly values you, who sees your worth, will never make you feel invisible. Love is not meant to be a guessing game where you're left wondering if you're wanted, if you matter, if you're even on his mind. A man who cares will make sure you know it. Think about a garden. A man who wants to see a flower bloom does not ignore it. He waters it, he nurtures it, he gives it sunlight. If he walks away and lets the flower wither, what does that tell you? It tells you that he never truly cared for it in the first place. Love is no different. A man who is genuinely invested in you will not starve you of attention, communication, and effort. He will not let you wilt in the absence of his presence. Imagine being in a dark room. You search for a light switch, but all you find is emptiness. You call out, but there's no response. That's what it feels like when a man repeatedly ignores you. You're left standing in the dark, searching for answers that will never come. Love should not feel like an abandoned house where you're knocking on doors that no one intends to open. A man who is truly into you will not leave you knocking. He will swing the door open wide and welcome you inside. Think about your phone. When you care about someone, you check in on them. You send a message, you make a call, you ask how they're doing. If a man can spend hours scrolling through social media, liking posts, watching videos, texting friends, but somehow doesn't have time to reply to you, what does that tell you? It tells you that his priorities do not include you. Because no one is too busy for someone they truly care about. A man who ignores you too much is playing with your emotions. He wants you to chase, to question, to feel uncertain about where you stand. He thrives on your confusion because it keeps you stuck in his game. But let's be clear. Love is not a game of cat and mouse. A man who genuinely wants you will not put you in a position where you feel like you're constantly running after him, begging for a scrap of his attention. Real love does not leave you anxious. Real love does not leave you in doubt. Picture a fire. It burns bright, warm, inviting. But if someone stops adding wood, stops tending to it, what happens? It fades. The same goes for love. If he is constantly ignoring you, refusing to nurture the connection, then he is letting the fire die. A man who values the fire will not walk away and let it turn to ashes. He will tend to it, protect it, and make sure it keeps burning. Think about a job interview. When an employer truly wants to hire you, they respond quickly. They follow up, they make it clear that they see your value. But if days, weeks go by without a word, you know the truth. They've moved on. Love is no different. A man who ignores you for days, who disappears without explanation, is showing you exactly where you stand. And if he is showing you that you are not a priority, believe him. Consider an artist painting a masterpiece. If he truly loves his work, he will dedicate time, effort, and passion into every stroke. But if he leaves the canvas untouched for weeks, barely glancing at it, what does that tell you? That he has lost interest. The same goes for a relationship. A man who is in love with you will show it in his actions, in his consistency, in his effort. If he is ignoring you, leaving you in uncertainty, then you are not his masterpiece, you are just another unfinished sketch he abandoned along the way. Think about your own value. If a store puts up a sign saying free, people will take whatever they want without a second thought. But if a store puts an item in a glass case with a high price tag, people respect it, they admire it, they know it is worth something. You are not a free giveaway, you are valuable, and a man who cannot recognize that, who ignores you as if your presence means nothing, does not deserve to stand in your life. Imagine a stage. The audience sits in silence, waiting for the performer to step forward, to take the microphone, to sing. But if the performer never shows up, if the stage remains empty, the audience eventually leaves. Love works the same way. You cannot keep waiting for someone who refuses to show up. If he is ignoring you too much, he is not just busy, he is making a choice. And that choice is telling you everything you need to know. A man who ignores you too much is not a mystery to solve, not a puzzle to piece together, and certainly not a prize you need to chase. He is a lesson in self-worth, a lesson in what love should never feel like, a lesson in understanding that you are not meant to beg for attention, plead for time, or wait in silence for someone who has already made a choice, just not the choice you were hoping for. Let's be real. When a man truly loves, he shows up, not just in words, not just in fleeting moments, but in consistency, in effort, in actions that leave no space for doubt. You will never have to decode his silence because real love does not leave you confused. It does not leave you anxious. It does not make you question your worth. Love is loud. Love is clear. Love is undeniable. A lion does not beg the jungle to notice its roar. A queen does not plead for her throne to be acknowledged. And you do not need to shrink yourself to tolerate indifference, to accept half-love disguised as affection. You are not just another option. You are not an afterthought. And if a man cannot recognize that, then he is not the one for you. Silence can be a game, but you are not born to be a player in someone else's strategy. You are the prize, you are the one who gets to choose, and the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop waiting, the moment you realize that being ignored is not something you should tolerate, it is the moment you reclaim your power. You must understand one thing. A man who values you will never put you in a position where you feel like you have to question whether he does. He will never risk losing you. Because when a man truly wants something, he goes after it. He protects it, he cherishes it. The same way a warrior fights for his kingdom, the same way an artist perfects his masterpiece, the same way a fire never stops burning when it is fueled with passion. You don't need closure from a man who disappears. You don't need validation from someone who refuses to see your worth. You don't need to lower yourself to fit into a love that was never designed for you. You are the sun. Whether someone chooses to bask in your light or walk away into the shadows is their decision, but your light does not dim just because they refuse to see it. A man who constantly ignores you is giving you a gift. Yes, a gift. He is showing you exactly where he stands, exactly what he is willing to offer, and exactly how little he values you. And once you see it for what it is, you are free. Free to walk away. Free to stop waiting. Free to understand that love is not something you should have to beg for. Remember this, the woman who knows her worth will never beg a man to love her. She will never stand outside a locked door waiting for someone who threw away the key. She will never lower her voice, shrink her presence, or compromise her dignity for someone who is too blind to see her greatness. Love should feel like home, like a place where you are safe, valued, wanted, not a battlefield where you have to fight for attention, not a puzzle where you have to piece together missing answers, not a guessing game where you are constantly wondering where you stand. You deserve more. And the moment you realize that, the moment you choose yourself over someone who refuses to choose you, that is the moment you win. Because a queen never waits. A queen never begs. A queen never questions her worth. She simply moves forward, head held high, knowing that the right man will never make her feel ignored. The right man will never let her go.